Good evening, everyone. I wanted to welcome you all to the Town of Webb April regular meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank you all for all attending for tonight. Please sign in at the attendance sheet and please make sure all your cell phones are off. The next regular meeting will be on May 10th at 7 p.m. May audit of claims meeting will be held on the first Monday, 5/2 at 5:30 p.m. We received some correspondence. The board received a thank you letter from VIEW, Community Transportation Services, and HASCA for the support the town gives them and to their organizations. And we, the town, would like to thank them again for the services that they give to us. We have a bid opening. The board advertised for a 2021 or newer Alpine Snow Groomer. Bids were due on April 12th at noon. Will the clerk read the notice to the bidders, please?
Please take notice that pursuant to a resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Webb, Herkimer County, and pursuant to law, sealed bids marked bid on the envelope will be received, publicly opened, and read aloud at a meeting of said Town Board to be held on the 12th day of April 2022 at the Town of Webb Municipal Office Building, 3140 State Route 28, Old Forge, New York, and a contract awarded to the lowest responsible bidder for the following by said board. A 2021 or newer Alpine Snow Groomer. Bid specifications are on file with the town clerk. Copies are available by contacting the town clerk during regular business hours. A non-collusion certificate shall be included. Bidders must meet all specifications. Said board reserves the right to reject all bids for any reason whatsoever and to withhold the awarding of said contract. All bids to be in the hands of the town clerk of the town of Webb, Old Forge, on or before 12 noon, the 12th day of April 2022, dated March 8th, 2022, by order of the town board, Nancy T. Russell, town clerk.
Do we have any bids?
We have one. And this is from Industrial Works. A new 2021 Piston Bully 400 with ROPS certified cabin. List of equipment. Bid price for the Piston Bully 400 Alpine Snow Groomer is $339,000. They're allowing a trade-in for our Piston Bully of $65,000. Net bid for new Piston Bully 400 inclusive applied trade allowance including delivery and setup. $274,000 US. So I don't know if you want Steve to review it or not. You made a picture.
Would someone like to make a motion to accept any of the bids?
I'll make a motion. We're going to have a discussion after this, but I'll make a motion to accept the bid.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
That's the amount we had that money allotted for it
Yes.
in the budget, so I'm just going to make sure I can remember that we were close on it.
It'll be a lease.
Right.
With that trade, oh, that's right, the lease makes it a little different, but with that trade, that's what we budgeted, or with that value, I should say.
Correct.
Is it a 4-year lease?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was 4 or
I
5.
think we're doing 4 this time. We did 5 last week. I think we're trying to do 4.
I remember 4.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote, yes?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Steamboat Landing, I have a motion to issue Jablonski the notice to proceed. The attorney has reviewed the bonds and the insurance. Do I have a motion?
I will make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call vote. So do we have any discussion on that? Sorry about that.
No, I mean, it's, I'm assuming it's everything that we talked about at the last meeting, just moving
Okay.
forward.
And it's a very much needed pump station improvement.
Correct.
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
4 ayes.
Med Ed LLC. The board met with Don Ross of Med Ed LLC on Monday, April 4th. Med Ed has purchased a piece of property adjacent to the professional offices where Mohawk Valley Health Services is located. Mr. Ross and Med Ed LLC is looking for approval from the Town of Webb Town Board for the right-of-way to the property in order to access the area. Plans are underway to build affordable housing for individuals in the medical and educational professions. The Phase 1 to build 10 units, which will include 4 units that are 2-bedroom and 6 units that are 1-bedroom. Do I have a motion to grant Med Ed LLC a right-of-way to access their property located adjacent to the Town of Webb professional offices? Med Ed LLC will be in contact with the town's attorney after they meet with their engineers, subject to all particulars and council review. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for that.
Second?
Yep, second.
Any discussion?
Discussion, one of the things is I have no relation to this person, just so that everybody knows that.
Anything else?
Well, we
Okay.
know that they're paying for all the upgrades and everything to get to that property. We had quite a discussion with them, so.
Yeah, no, it's all in their guy.
Make a point. Madam Supervisor, I'd like to make a point.
Yes.
To grant an easement or right-of-way is an interest in real property, so the board has to do that based on the fair market value of the interest in property. It seems to me from our discussions or communications we've had that the construction of this kind of housing is actually going to be a net benefit to the town, so there would be a basis then to grant the easement without charging a conveyance fee, a price from
Okay.
Med for that. Just want to make that clear.
Thank you very much. Roll call vote?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, we have a seeker for the wastewater treatment plant. Whereas the Town of Webb Board will review the seeker full environmental assessment forms for the upgrades to the wastewater treatment facility. Whereas the Town Board determines the action classification under the State Environmental Quality Review seeker regulations, and whereas the Town Board determines that the actions are also subject to review and approval by other involved agencies under seeker regulations, and whereas the Town Board determines that it is most appropriate agency to ensure the coordination of this action and will provide written notifications to the involved agencies for the purposes of conducting a coordinated review and making the determination of significance thereon under the seeker regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Webb Board does hereby declare its intent to be designated as the lead agency for seeker review for the upgrades for the wastewater treatment facility. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution as read?
I would be glad to make that resolution.
Second.
Motion, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Do we have any discussion?
I'll just let you know the seeker is because we have to go, the building has a little bit of, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, the building needs a little bit of an addition to do all this. So when you start going out into more than just the building's footprint, I guess it's the state needs to know that you're touching the land and doing stuff like that. Enlarging the building.
Well, without having more detail and site plan in front of me, can't fully answer that question.
Okay, I think that's what,
Don't know if it qualifies as a type 1, thus automatically requiring full environmental impact, or full assessment form. But you can always do the form, full form.
what's the options, because I think you're right.
Short form,
Right, okay.
which is very much simplified, but there's
Think-
nothing wrong with doing a full environmental assessment form.
We're doing a full one.
Oh, we are, okay, all right,
We have a full one.
okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
4 ayes.
We have a lakefront request for proposal. The town of Webb would like to replace the current tennis courts with a covered pavilion that would potentially house a pickleball court, musical events, and other gatherings during fair weather. In the meantime, the pavilion would provide services for ice skating. In the wintertime, the pavilion would provide services for ice skating with a rink size of approximately 80 by 40 for family skating. In addition to the primary covered structure, south end, attached or detached, would be developed a band shell for outside musical events. In inclement weather, the band should be able to play to the interior of the pavilion. At the north end of the pavilion, consider for some small gatherings with a possible propane fireplace. I'd like a motion. The Town of Webb Town Board is seeking qualifications and fee proposals for an architectural firm for programming and schematic design phase services for this project. The goal is to create a positive, eye-catching structure at this location, not only to improve the functionality, but highlight the attractive characteristics of our area. Applicants should also address the following criteria in developing a response to this RFP and provide projects that highlight relevant experience to the Adirondack region. Proposals must be received on or by the following date: April 29th, 2022, 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Proposal must be in PDF format. Estimated completion date September 1st, 2022. Complete proposal is available from the town clerk and available during regular business hours. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
In a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion?
This is just for design purposes so that we can get, move forwards with coming up with real numbers and making sure that we all agree upon what it is the structure should look like, and then start moving forwards with numbers and then going after grants. And so it's not going to be a quick thing, but we're hoping to at least get the picture done to get the ball rolling here. So we had money set aside in the budget to do that this year. So I think it's exciting. So.
A new roll call.
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, the next one's on. You ready? All right, we have a resolution proclaiming a workforce housing crisis in the town of Webb, Herkimer County, New York. Whereas it is essential to our local economy and sense of community that our workers and their families live in the town of Webb. For without these workers, our local businesses could not survive, much less thrive. And whereas the dislocation of workers from the town of Webb creates stress on our local workers, local businesses, and the environment due to long commutes over mountains and rural terrain. And whereas we must increase the number of affordable workforce housing units in the town of Webb so that our government workers, teachers, firefighters, law enforcement, officers, social workers, and other critical members of the workforce can afford to live in the same community that they serve. And whereas mountain and resort communities such as ours face unique challenges regarding our housing inventory, such as the supply that is constrained by land shortages and labor shortages, high construction costs, the secondary home ownership market, and the increasing popularity of the short-term rentals and residential units of all types. And whereas over the course of the last several years before the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, housing for our local workforce had become increasingly out of reach, such that it was very difficult for workers and their families to stay, to live, and to work in the town of Webb. And whereas in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are seeing business and society shifts brought on from remote working options that allow many second homeowners to move to the town of Webb on a part-time and full-time basis and allow high-income remote workers to purchase homes and relocate to the town of Webb, which has also exacerbated the housing shortage. And whereas according to various studies and housing needs update as well as other available information, by the year 2023, Webb's housing supply is expected to be more than 400 units short of the housing needed to meet the demands of our local workforce housing. And whereas, although the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic have been widespread, the economic and housing impact of the pandemic has fallen most severely on lower income households who are already more challenged than the general population to find adequate housing. And whereas many local businesses and public, thank you. And whereas the federal government recognized the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on housing needs of vulnerable population households and geographic areas that enacted the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 to provide state, local, and tribal governments in addressing housing issues. And whereas many local businesses and public entities are struggling to attract and retain employees, and the lack of affordable housing is a major contributor to the workforce shortage, with the result of the local businesses closing or reducing their hours of operation. And whereas, despite the commendable efforts of individuals, local businesses, and county government generally to acquire and to construct workforce housing units, as well as purchase lands that will support workers, workforce housing communities, the town board recognizes the need for additional immediate action to achieve the above referenced goals and preserve our local economy, community character, and cultural landscape. And whereas the town board acknowledges that a solution to the affordable housing shortage will require a multi-pronged approach, including the construction and acquisition of new workforce housing units, the modification of existing regulations, and creation of new incentive programs, all of which will require substantial additional funding from not only local resources, but state and federal resources. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Webb, county of Herkimer, state of New York, that a workforce housing crisis exists in the town of Webb that warrants immediate action by local, state, and federal authorities. Inaction will result in irreversible changes to the fabric of our community and limit the ability of the community to serve visitors and residents alike. Governments, businesses, employers, and other stakeholders in the town of Webb must thoroughly explore and implement all viable strategies to mitigate the current workforce housing crisis. The representatives of the citizens and businesses of Webb implore the governor's office and the state of New York to recognize the nature of the housing emergency in the central Adirondacks and to allocate funding from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 or any other viable sources that are available to assist Webb in all hamlets and unincorporated areas in the attainment of affordable workforce housing within Webb and throughout its jurisdiction. These ongoing efforts to improve affordable workforce housing in the town of Webb will continue to allow local businesses and public service providers to keep a quality workforce in the town, resulting in a stronger economy, a more robust community, which will ultimately benefit the state of New York as a whole, because our exceptional recreational amenities are cherished by the residents of the state of New York as well as across the nation to those who visit the town of Webb. I need a motion to accept that resolution, please. That was a long one.
Nicely done.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? As everybody knows, workforce housing's an issue. Housing's an issue. All the way around.
Right, and this is just one more key of helping us hopefully move forward.
This is gonna try to help us get some money.
Right. It's a big step, and it's a lot of thinking, a lot of doing, so.
We have a roll call vote, Nance?
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Wallace?
Right.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay. Looks like,
Take a deep breath.
Mr. Gardner, you're up.
Marianne, did you need her to say that again? Marianne?
Yeah, I know.
Let's see, I don't have too much tonight. Mountain bike trails, AFT has been up there busy cutting out trees and blowing off all the trails, getting it ready to go, helping them dry out, so they'll be opening up very soon. So if you see the closed signs come down, then they're good to go. We'll also make announcements on social media. They're also getting more interest on people wanting to bid on towards the grants that we did get, so we're just waiting for the state to come through with the funding before we can actually move forwards with that part of it. But there is forward progress happening, more or less, so that we're ready to go as soon as that funds come together. And then there will be a dog park coming soon, and I wish I had more information. I was really hoping to have it all dialed in by tonight, but it's not. So stand by, but there will be a dog park announcement coming sooner than later, hopefully, in the next few weeks. And that's about it. Sorry, I was on vacation. So.
Oh darn.
I was involved in a lot of meetings, so that's about all I can report on. So.
Mr. Greco.
I got a couple things.
Okay.
Kurt and I, actually, and Daniel were on a conference call with Emily Kilborn up in North Elba, and we spoke with her about what they deal with the short-term rentals, and kind of got a mindset from her. She's big on zoning and all that stuff, and doing it that way. But she also, I think the biggest thing I took out of it was that if we did it by zoning, we wouldn't have anything in place for a couple of years because of all the backlash that comes with that. So we had a meeting, we spoke, our board, and I think we're heading in the right direction where we actually have something together just so we can start the actual process and then maybe develop it over time. But it sounds like we're actually going to be getting something in place here soon so we can start registering people and making sure we're addressing that. The couple other things I have were our first meeting, Bonnie mentioned the boat docking and the overnight parking. And I just didn't know where you were at with that. I don't have any input on it. I just.
So I formed a committee, and I don't think they've really moved anywhere yet. I'm looking for someone to go on the committee who's opposed to the boat parking, overnight boat parking.
Because you have some people that are.
I don't want to have all people gung-ho for let's open the boat parking. I want someone on that committee who is against the boat parking.
I'm against it.
Okay, would you like to be on that committee?
I don't know who else is on it.
Kyle Lindsay's chairing that.
Okay, I'll do it.
Look at him. You got the folder, that means
I
you're
think
chairing it.
what we were, what I was thinking was partially. I'm not thinking, that's just one thing that I was thinking was
Yeah.
just doing a part of our mass, our lakefront floor. That's all that my input. But I think the committee thing is what we ended up doing for the rec center floor, and that worked out pretty great. So I think a committee will be beneficial for that whole thing. Another thing I have here is and I don't know where it's going to go, but I know the farmers market's going to have food trucks down there, and on Fridays. And I know, I think, and maybe Andy can help me out with this. I know he's been busy. I called him today, but the town, they want to have them on town property. It's got to be town approved. If they want to have them on other properties like their own, then it's got to be planning board approved, right? Is that where it stands for food trucks?
Generally, that's correct. Private property or a restaurant, which is private property, subject to planning board approval.
Okay.
Any town property subject to town board approval. But currently, food trucks have been blanketly approved by the planning board if it meets a certain criteria for private property.
And the front door, back door over here for us. I actually called food trucks because Mondays and Tuesdays we just got slaughtered over there because a lot of places were closed. And then on Wednesdays we had to close because we didn't have enough people. So I wanted to have a food truck there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday and Tuesday to help out my staff, and then Wednesday so people had somewhere to go. So we were trying to do that, and then the planning board was great with that last summer. They kind of said, make sure they got the Herkimer, you got to have a health permit, the sales, tax ID in Herkimer County, and all that stuff. And then eventually other restaurant owners were contacting them, and they kind of opened it right up. And I guess my concern is, it could be, I think it's really cool and fun to have. Really, the farmers market's a great idea. I think that'd be great. But in other areas, like Lowville has Food Truck Fridays, and that's really detrimental to some restaurants over there. So I feel like there should be something a little more specific towards regulating that, so we don't just open the floodgates and then, who knows how it could hurt the local businesses even more. Because we were doing it to kind of help the issue we had.
To further explain private property, it's intended for current restaurants.
That's set.
Not any private property.
That's set in there.
So if a restaurant is closed, they can have a food truck there.
Yeah.
We currently have 2 approvals, Big Moose Inn
Okay.
and North Street. Both have approvals.
Could they be there if they're open to?
That's not the intent of the law. The intent of not a law, it's a policy set by the planning board.
Okay.
The intent was to help out restaurants that were in like a situation
Yeah.
you just said, had to close due to the lack of staffing. You could have a food truck come in and be there.
Okay, so it has gotten more specific. Like for instance, let's say like Napa over here. That's the example I used.
They're not a restaurant.
They can't put.
No.
Okay, that's what I was trying to just see where how I could see it getting out of control. That's why I
It
just wanted
applies
to
to
address it.
current restaurant area.
Okay.
Really quick, that's the blanket policy, but somebody could apply to the planning board to have a food truck on private property,
They
correct?
could,
Okay.
So, somebody could make that application and present it
And
to
get
the
it.
planning
they
board.
could,
Okay.
yes.
And then lastly, Wattis Foundation. That's the group down there in the Mohawk Valley area that we're trying to get to fund our floor at the rec center over here for what, $130,000 I think it is. We didn't make it on their March agenda, And we just gotten our bid proposals a few days before that, so we thought we were gonna get on there. We filled the application out, Daniel and I, and we didn't get on there, so it's kind of discouraging. And then the next morning, we got an email that, you know, they'd like to move forward with us and try and make that happen, and we're gonna be on this month's agenda at the end of the month for that full grant for that.
She's coming up for a site visit, which is good news.
Yeah, so we have high hopes all of a sudden. I don't think they would just send up the, what would we call her, their secretary, treasurer, yeah.
Grant distributor.
The awesome lady doing this stuff, yeah. So that's pretty cool. I don't think they would be going that far if they weren't interested. The school was in the mix, totally separate. Again, that was confusion in the beginning. They applied for about 50 grand of things and equipment for the school, and they actually got their two top priorities because they make you prioritize it. And they got the scoreboards for the gymnasium. Kyle Brown, our new AD, he's awesome. He worked on that, and he got the 2 scoreboards and a pitching machine. But that was only 19,000 of the 50 they asked for, which is a lot of money still. But I'm saying it still kind of makes us think maybe they were holding out for seeing if this was going to work for them to help us out with this. So hopes are high. It could be a complete letdown, but we'll still move forward trying to figure out. So I'll let you know where we were at that. That's it.
I guess all the legwork is done.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Your turn, Mike.
My turn, huh? Okay, I have my little list here. Thank you, Bonnie. I did talk, I told the board, actually, I was supposed to get a call back from Chuck. I told the board that I would have a number tonight, and I don't, because he didn't call me back, for the Wi-Fi down on North Street.
I got a quote for $955, I believe. It's in the other room, but I can show it to you.
Okay, somewhere around $100.
But, yep, and it'll give 350 people Wi-Fi out into the...
And that wasn't Adirondack?
No, that was Taz.
Uh-huh. All right, I was supposed to get one from Adirondack Tech, so we'll see where that goes. So I didn't get that. We were successful in moving the shed that was at the Old Forge Hardware down to North Street for the farmer's market. That's down there now. It needs a little leveling, but it's there, it's done. All set there.
That's awesome, thank you.
I need to ask the board, last year during budgeting, I asked for money to redo the ale strip soccer field sign that was kind of ugly looking and beat up. And that sign is done. We did put money in the budget, and I guess what we need to do is set up a date or something to install that. Maybe have the family there and say thanks or whatever we do there. So,
We already have the sign?
yes, well, we don't have it, but it's done.
Okay.
Luke has that. And I think, Nancy, did we pay for the sign already? You had to put
They put money down, I don't know if you paid for it all or not.
Okay,
I can't remember.
it's been a little while, but anyways,
It's
that's...
been a while.
And I had a couple of people ask me recently about the Memorial Day Parade. And so I called Bill Ransom and asked if they're thinking of doing it, because typically I believe that the Legion heads that out. And he said he had a speaker for that day, and they're all set, but they needed the okay from the town board to do such a thing, so. I'm totally okay with it, but.
I'm good with the parade.
We love parade.
It's a great thing, it really is. They do a really good job. I believe the fire department has thoughts about it also, about being in it, so.
Sounds good.
So I can get back to him and say, we're good with it?
I'm good with it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And Jamie, you're here for the paper?
No, magazine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you done?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Wow.
I forgot something that Mike
Okay.
sparked, but Adirondack Tech is also last year, or I think it was last year, we went into an agreement with them to go across town land with high-speed internet. And so that actually, was that on your
Those are my
thing?
notes.
Oh, I'll shut up.
Go on vacation, come back, take over the job.
So I had a meeting with Adirondack Tech, many of the county legislators, Robin Hill, Dan Kieferbach, at Living 80K hosted that. It was very nice. Eagle Wireless was also involved. We talked about being a pilot program for grant money that the county has for Herkimer. So they offered 3 towns that money, and we're one of those areas. So we are, he's more knowledgeable on what I'm gonna, you're gonna take over in a second, get ready. We're going to address areas of concern. One would be South Shore Road, going all the way to all the way up South Shore Road, all the roads off South Shore Road, up to Macaulay Mountain, which we need internet there, Wi-Fi. And they are also working right now
Right, that's what I was gonna get.
on going into north-south Rondacks and into Woodcraft.
So they're going up North Street. They're gonna start in the next week or two, it sounds like. They're just waiting for it to dry a little bit. But they're gonna go right up North Street with the cable, go through the snowmobile trails and come out basically over there by Woodcraft area, and then they're gonna hit all around Rondacks there, so they'll be tapped into the high-speed internet over there. So that'll be it. Be great.
Really great for the area.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess
Well
so.
needed.
When does that start?
Um,
When is it?
The land tracks up.
What's that?
Did you have a date? Did you say, or is this just?
It's really just, they're waiting for the mud
We put a
to,
pin in it, or it's
settle
just, oh, they're
the-
waiting for?
Yeah, I mean,
They'll have it by fall.
Okay.
Woodcraft
he
will have it by
contacted me on where
fall.
he's gonna park the machinery, so they're coming, in the next week or two. I talked to Chuck and he said,
They wanna
you know,
do it
within
fast.
the next week or two, they should be more than good to go, at least on the trails that they're gonna go through, that they should be dry enough for them to get a trencher through there. So, and then, they're, should, Main Street thing?
Yeah, go for it. You know more about that than I do.
Um,
Well, wait a minute. I had a meeting with NIPA. I'll let you come in a minute.
okay.
Well, I had a meeting with NIPA, New York Power Authority, about the streetlights that we bought. They're going to bring the equipment up, and they're going to bring all the LED lights up that we're going to be using. And the construction will begin in May. They're going to replace Main Street first, so we can get that done. And we also had a meeting with them about.
So with that came a $50,000 SMART grant, something like that. And we could use it for different things. So it was decided last year that it would be used for internet. So we had the meetings now of going through it and designing the maps. So it looks like we'll be in free internet running up Main Street from basically Subway. We redesigned the map a little bit, so they're coming this Friday for us to actually walk it and figure out how many poles and how far down Main Street goes. But we're trying to make it so that it goes into Main Street down here before it was ending before Point Park. So we're hoping to get as far down Main Street as we can. People will be able to log in. They'll have to accept, it's it's like when you go to a hotel, you'll have to accept the terms and maybe put an email address in or where you're from or something like that. But then essentially you're gonna have free Wi-Fi to use on and it'll cover into the beach and right up Main Street. So depending on how far, we don't know exactly. They showed us a map roughly, but it's got pretty good radius going all the way down Main Street, going on the side to side. So that'll be another exciting thing to, in town here, especially with cell service gets bad and so many people are here, we'll be able to utilize it a little bit more. Hopefully that'll ease that. So, and that was all funded for free, so we were able to, that part was free. Other than us providing the internet, we have to pay for the internet. So.
Okay, I just have one more thing. As, I don't know if you all know this, but we have over $5 million in infrastructure problems with our sewer and water lines. So I have been in touch with Living 80K and working with Robin Hill. We sent a grant application through Senator Gillibrand's office. I told her the 2 projects we're working on and the ones that we want to work on that are underground. We have 6 areas of concern in the town of Webb that need to be addressed immediately. I don't think we can wait another 20 years. We've been waiting a long time. So we need to find funding for this, and that's what my mission is. I'm trying to find funding for infrastructure. So hopefully, with all this money that's coming through the state, I'm hoping we're gonna get some of it. Keep your fingers crossed.
I have a couple quick questions.
Uh-huh.
With the money that you said the county and whoever's given us for this internet stuff do they have a number?
They
Is
don't
there a
have a
cost
number.
involved?
They don't have a number on what they want, what they're gonna spend in each township yet. But they also have asked if we have any money to contribute. And so I've reached out to them and asked them how much money they would like us to contribute. Because I don't know what that number is, it could be, you know.
Right. I guess that was my thinking.
So I've reached out to ask what that number would be. And I understand, you know, them wanting us to help with that. It's important,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
And also, I'd like to bring up, Bonnie and I sat with Corey Reed and Erin, what's her name?
Yeah.
Erin
Becker?
And that also had a little bit of conversation about the I&I study that we already have done for our sewer system down Main Street. And they are also looking for money for some of our projects also. So we're still working on it.
We're reaching in every direction we can at this point. I think Nancy, we're up to you now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm done.
Okay, so I need a nod or okay from the board for St. Bartholomew's confirmation class to use the Point Park for a bake sale to benefit the Ukrainian relief on Sunday, May 15th. They did not give us a time, I'm assuming after church sometime. So that's just a nod, if everyone's okay with them using Point Park.
I think that's a great idea.
We are asking for a nod from the View Arts Center. They'd like to use the Point Park for their 13th annual ice cream social, Friday, July 29th. They're going to begin around 9 to set up. The event's 11 and ending sometime between 3 and 3:30. So they're looking for a nod for Point Park for July 29th. Have we nodded?
Sounds great.
Good job.
I want to do that every year.
The last nod, Town of Inlet, they do this every year, they want to use our bandstand for the festival, September 17th and 18th. They arrange pickup, we do get insurance, so we just need a nod for that.
Sounds great.
This is an FYI. Nicola's Incorporated DBA Stillwater is renewing their liquor license for another year, Mary Ann and Joe Romano. That's just an FYI. Now I need a resolution for, let's see, Trail 28 Incorporated at 5521 Route 28 Eagle Bay have applied for a new liquor license. They would like a waiver of the 30-day waiting notice. So that would be a resolution from the board if you'll waive the 30 days for Trail 28 Incorporated. It's Tommy Greco's place in the way.
I can't say anything, right?
No,
You're
you're
out.
good.
It's the old, it's the
You're out.
toboggan, the toboggan.
It's the old toboggan.
So that's the name.
I don't know.
Trail 28 Incorporated, we're gonna waive the 30 days, need a resolution.
I'll make a motion that we waive the 30-day.
I mean, I don't know anything how that process works, to be honest with you, so I don't know.
So basically, we're gonna, if you guys approve it, I write a letter and he picks it up tomorrow and gives it to the liquor authority.
Okay.
That speeds up that process.
Yeah, I think so.
It
Pretty
saves
much
them
done
30
it
days,
every-
saves them 30 days on the end, it doesn't change the process, it
Right,
just saves
okay.
them 30 days.
So, yeah, that's fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, the town of Webb has received an award from the New York Rural Water Association. We'll be honoring 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, and 40-year members. Our system, the town of Webb, has been a member of the Rural Water Association for 40 years. And they are recognizing us for that, for recognition and appreciation of membership with the Rural Water Association. 40-year member we are.
Wow.
Thank you, everybody. That'll be hung up here somewhere. Scott wants it hung up here. We're gonna hang it up here somewhere. And now I need a resolution to give the Old Forge Fire Department a bingo license. We're gonna do it all at once. A bingo license, a raffle license, and a game of chance license. It could be all one. For the Old Forge Fire Department.
Sounds good.
Yep. Make a resolution before we
Yeah,
make
I need a
it.
second. He nodded over there.
Second? Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, that's okay, you're good. I'm done. I have all my stuff. We're good to go. Do you have
I have nothing to report that would justify the time it would take to.
Okay, we're off to the public. Any questions or comments? Yes, ma'am?
I got a phone call from DEC today. They're actually doing training at the fire department that started at 7 tonight too. He's wondering where you guys stand now with what was started last year or the year before with the trail going up to Pete's Peak, to the top of the mountain. We actually had a call yesterday with a medical emergency. And so with the lack of people in town, it got toned out to 3 departments. They brought the ATV up to Pete's Peak, but then they ended up having to carry them down the other side. So he's kind of in limbo with how you guys feel with continuing with the plan, the trail up that side to Pete's Peak.
Well, I mean, I can speak a little bit on that, because I was involved in a few of those meetings. When we were originally proposed it, it was our understanding that the state was also gonna help out with some of the needs that would be done to make it into a parking lot and stuff like that. And then after a couple meetings, that's not the case, and that's not the negative to them, it's just that I'm not sure, maybe there was a misunderstanding in the beginning. So there's not any help in that sense. The DOT, I know, was willing to figure out how to make that possibly work over there, because it's a little tricky pulling out with the hill there, and you know, obviously we don't want to create a problem, so you'd have to go along the wetlands there to get down to the rock cliff face there to be able to pull out into traffic safely, in my opinion. But I'm not the DOT, so I don't know where that is. But the big thing is that the amount of money that's going to cost to clear all that parking lot out, and the parking actually would be up on the hill on that first, when you go around the bend, you go over the pipe there, and you go up the hill, that's where the parking lot was designated all up there. I mean, it's a lot of work, you know, and we just don't have the funds for it right now, because it's dedicated for something like that with everything else going on. So it's kind of a little bit, we just had a meeting not too long ago on it, and so.
I did have a meeting with that, and I did go up there with Chuck Batts. He took me up there in the truck.
It's over.
And, you know, coming out of there is a huge concern onto 28. I don't know how they can do that and do it so that it's safe.
But from an EMS standpoint, what would make it better over there from just, not from making a parking lot for everybody else, but like, what would make it better for EMS to be able to access it specifically just for that reason? I mean, that would be maybe a much easier
Yeah, it's
thing.
it's a rough ride.
It is, yeah.
Even without an injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty dicey. You gotta have someone that really knows what they're doing driving.
Yeah.
You get it stuck, and you get it stuck with a patient in there, and you're kind of stuck.
Right. So putting in a better roadway to Pete's Peak more so is
Yeah.
what you're looking for.
Yeah, there's you know where those areas
Oh,
are.
I know.
They're
Yeah, I walked that whole
wet
thing,
and
so,
yeah, it's
yeah.
nasty.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a grant that would be out there for something like that for an EMS purposes or something like that, or like, you know, I mean, like, that would improve access to, you know, there's obviously a need.
Yeah.
So maybe that, I mean, that's really what it would, I mean, I don't know if I'm speaking out of terms here, but I mean, I think that would be something that could be explored, specifically just for EMS, because obviously the road's good enough to get in there for you guys, but, yeah, once you know, go on your trip, it's wet and bumpy and
Yeah.
not
From that
great.
landing to the top up there, there's a little bit of room, it's a ways.
Yeah, well, I think once you get on the Pete's Peak Trail, it's not as bad. There's a couple wet areas that are washed out that can be cleaned up, but it's really the trail between the parking lot and where Pete Peak's trail goes up, right?
Yeah, there's one pretty good dip after that part, but yeah, it's
Right.
most of it is before that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, I mean, it would be a lot of material to put in there and pushed around and mucked out. I mean, the trail is there, but. Talk to
When we sat
Kiefer,
with them in that meeting, they
Yeah,
didn't
the yellow
really want to
sweatshirt
help
on
much,
it.
did
They
they?
weren't gonna help at
They
all.
weren't gonna do anything.
They didn't want to bring equipment up or
Yeah.
anything.
No.
you know, and.
Weren't
In
interested.
the beginning, it was proposed to us that they were trying to lighten the burden because they can't expand with, New York State lost a lawsuit that I think it's 4-inch diameter trees, they can't cut anything bigger than 4 inches. So there's no way physically for them to, legally, to expand the Bald Mountain parking lot where it exists now. It just can't. The land is there, they just can't do it. So then they approached us about, hey, we would love to maintain this trail down to Pete's Peak, and can we put a parking lot over there? Sure, let's talk about putting a parking lot over there, but they're looking for us to fully fund it and do it basically. So that's the big difference, and that wasn't so clear at the beginning. And so, but I think, we were excited about it for that reason. The EMS access was great, and I know that you utilized it a couple times last year, and
Yep.
yesterday too. It's a necessity. So I guess we should have further conversations about that specific thing, and not necessarily just about a parking lot.
Right.
Right.
That might be a faster obtainable thing that we can figure out. Where the parking lot, it was a lot of dirt moving. It's a massive project. So.
Anyone else? Questions, concerns? Yes, Dan?
I'll make it quick. First off, thank you guys. This is, I feel like there's a lot of things moving, which is, I think as a citizen and as a, community development specialist, it feels like there's momentum, which is awesome. So keep doing what you're doing. I just had a quick question about the MedEd project, which they met with Living 80K, and it was an awesome project. I'm super excited about it. And I know that they had mentioned that they wanted to reserve it for medical personnel and educational personnel. And I just didn't know, maybe they talked to you about how they were going to sort of keep it earmarked for those people. Whether they were going to restrict the property, or if they were going to, I just didn't know if there was a way of, at easement, if it would make sense to have it contingent upon it being kept as those things, because I just don't know if at any point they could just say, hey,
Yes.
we're going to sell it to somebody.
I believe that was our plan, was to make sure that there was a restriction in their deed
Right.
that says that it has to be used for that.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think we made that pretty clear with them, and they had no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just wanted to make sure.
That's exactly what they want, I'm sure it's not.
What
Yes.
happens if the property gets built and you have all these great apartments for that specific purpose, but you can't find any educators or enough medical people to move in, and now you've got all these apartments
I think
just sitting
they-
there empty?
I think that they have that plan already in effect of who they're pulling this way.
Okay.
They're gonna be pulling students in that'll be doing like a 3-month cycle of learning how to maybe do blood work. And then maybe, some of those will be like that, and then
College internships and stuff like that.
college
Okay,
internships.
because that's all I can think about is, you got all these
So it's
workforce
not all the units are like that,
deficits,
but
but
they-
yet you got all these empty apartments because obviously you don't
Right.
have enough medical people or
They seemed
educators
pretty,
to fill it.
and that's gonna be on them to
Yeah,
to
yeah, well,
manage
that's why
it
I'm
and
just
stuff, but they
asking that
seem
question.
pretty, they wanna generally help out the community, but they are looking for specifically make sure that any needs that are required in town medically, that those are provided first,
Good.
is their goal. And then teachers, because they chose that. But, I think they're working with the hospital too. And so that, when they have, with the new hospital going in, it's gonna be a teaching school, they have a large department there. So there can be actually rotating doctors that will be coming in, which would then also, and I can't guarantee this, but
Right.
this is the theory.
Yeah.
That, they could possibly, we might have more possible services down the road, you know what I mean, because of this. And that's what that's the main goal of it.
Well, that's good, that's
So,
a way
but-
to use it.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna just follow that with saying, I just love to see this forward movement. This is so good. So
Thank
much
you.
positive going on here. I'm so glad to hear about the infrastructure being addressed. I realize that is a lot, but I'm glad it needs to be taken seriously. As a large business in the center of town and as a person raising a family here, we've had our issues with that as well, so. I know the guys are working really hard, and I love to hear the Wi-Fi. I just think this is great. Great job, everyone.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, we appreciate that. Anybody else? Okay.
So, this is, I guess, something a little different. I guess I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss something to do with real property.
Yeah, proposed acquisitions.
You want a hand on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a new thing here.
First, Nancy?
Yeah, why don't you pay the bills first, and then you just want
Okay.
you want to do this resolution right now.
Okay, sorry for that.
Okay, you'll go from there? Okay.
I'd
Oh,
like,
you want me to read that,
Yes,
Nancy?
I did, but that's okay, we have it under control.
I'd like a motion
okay.
to pay the audit of claims, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Tommy,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we can.
Now we need a
Okay,
motion.
Yeah.
right. There is a motion from my discussions earlier with Nancy that there is a discussion to be had regarding the acquisition of a piece of real property, and a public discussion of it would substantially affect the value of the property. So the motion is to go into executive session and have that discussion. Is that correct, Mr. Ross?
Yes, I would like to make that motion.
and can we add the other two things?
If you want to discuss them, yeah. Do you? All right.
You do, you want to add, you want to discuss history of a particular employee, and you want to discuss an issue with the PDA that could affect.
You have a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, I can help you with that too, Mr. Ross. There would be a separate discussion involving the employment history of a particular employee, and there will be a discussion that will impact the collective bargaining negotiations upcoming.
Okay, so,
That's his
all
motion,
that being said, I would like to make the motion.
that he
Our
said.
town attorney just mentioned.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all for coming very much. I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session. No action was taken, just discussion.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second. Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Are you done? Do you have anything to do?
We're done.
And then need a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make the motion.
I made the motion. Go ahead, somebody second it,
I'll
sorry.
second it.
I wasn't supposed to do that.
That's all right, you're fine.